Hey everybody! In today's video, I'm going to show you how to do a loose watercolor base for your floral paintings and then go in with a little bit of detail. I'm using my fabulous mister to mist both the back of my watercolor paper, and if none of your watercolors are wet, you can also mist your watercolors just to get them loosened up. I don't do it if they're wet because that can splatter from one color to another. Now I'm spraying the front of this beautiful Bluebonnet stamped panel as well. I can't resist a Bluebonnet. And I'm taking my largest travel brush and I'm going to just do wet on wet color. So the idea with this loose watercolor is just to get color everywhere that it should go. No precision whatsoever. The wet paper will make it bleed out beyond the flowers and the foliage, and that's going to be the base for my more detailed painting. If you love the look of loose watercolor, then don't be afraid to do a technique like this. I know that it probably stresses some people out to see just color going down and spreading out and going beyond the stamp. But it gives a really artistic look and feel that you will really like in the end. Now in real life, Bluebonnets are not just blue and white. There's a little greenish yellow tinge right before you see the pure white at the end of a flower, and so I'm going to incorporate that yellow as well. So anywhere there's a flower, I'm putting down this ultramarine blue Daniel Smith watercolor. I'm deliberately not going all the way to the edge of some of these flowers, and that is to let the white of the Bluebonnet be represented by the white of the page. So I will speed this up just a little bit, and I'm going to go in and add those little pops of yellow. You can always tell a Texan who's painting a Bluebonnet because they do include those little pops of yellow that you see at the ends of the flowers. Now, if your paper has dried, go in and add clean water as I'm doing here, and I'm just going to very loosely put in the green for the foliage. There's going to be some foliage up in the flower area, so I will add that as well. Again, the idea isn't to color every part of the stamped image. So now I've let this dry, and this time I'm going to do wet on dry watercolor, meaning I use a wet brush and pick up the pigment and then go on to dry paper with it. That will give me hard edges and sharp detail in some of these areas. I won't be painting every single petal this way. I'm just adding sharp, dark details here and there to bring the looseness back down just a little bit and add some focus to the flowers as well as some shading. So you can see what the little dark spots do in terms of adding detail to the Bluebonnets. It also makes the flowers look more three-dimensional because it's adding shadow inside each of the flower structures. Now, I love this image because it's big enough to paint. A lot of times Bluebonnet stamps are too small. I'd love one that took up a whole card front so that I could really do the botanical detail that you see on a Bluebonnet. When I go back in with the detailed blue, I try to load up as much pigment as I can on my paintbrush so that I'm adding really dark, pure color to those flowers. And the detail of this image will start to jump out at you. You'll see in the finished close-up that there are these tiny little bees buzzing around this image, which I find so adorable. I'm not going to color the bees. They are very tiny. I'm just going to spend my time adding detail to the Bluebonnets themselves. Now, this is a scene you can actually see in Texas all year round. So it's not uncommon if you go for a chilly November hike when our weather starts to get rainy and cool, and to see the Bluebonnets sprouting again. Of course, the spring is when they have the real glory on Texas highways and places that we've seeded with wildflower seeds. But they do come back in the fall, and Bluebonnets are a perennial. And will survive anything, including our 6 days in Texas that we had this year with that horrific winter storm. There were bluebonnets in our neighborhood literally the second the snow melted. So they are a very hardy Texas native plant. At this point, after that storm, I'm looking for very hardy Texas natives. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of my favorite plants, including my ornamental ginger, which makes me very sad. But now you can see that traditional round petal that you're used to seeing with a bluebonnet with just the addition of those darks. So I will finish up over here on the right, and you notice that I've switched to my tiniest detail brush. This is a number 2 in my travel set. And my advice to people, always, 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 having done it the opposite way the first time, is buy travel brushes, because you're going to want to take these out and sketch outside. And the very first watercolor brushes that I bought were not travel brushes, and I've regretted it ever since. And then I had to spend that money twice and invest in some good travel brushes, and now I never use my non-travel brushes again. There's really no reason to have an inside brush and an outside brush when the outside brush can do everything you need it to do, whether you're inside or outside. So I'll let you look at that close up. That is so much fun. I just love the way that it looks. It reminds me of just a beautiful spring day in Texas. I hope you've enjoyed this. Head over to my blog for more information. See the supplies below, and thanks so much for watching.